All right, welcome back for another deep dive. You know how this works? We dig into the source material to unearth those golden nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah, and today we're going deep into the principles behind a truly successful and fulfilling life. And for this one,
We've got some incredible real-life stories to guide us.
absolutely, the lives of Audrey and Trevor Blake.
Okay, so let's start with Audrey. Imagine being told you've only got months left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, given a terminal cancer diagnosis at just 42 years old.
That's devastating.
It is. But here's the thing. Audrey didn't just survive.
No.
No, she thrived for decades after that diagnosis.
Really?
Yeah, and her story is such a powerful example of this principle we're going to explore today, mentality control.
Interesting. How did she do that?
Well, she refused to let that diagnosis define her.
Okay.
Instead of giving in to fear and despair, Audrey actively chose optimism. You know, she focused her energy on creating moments of joy and connection.
Like she took control of the narrative.
Exactly. Like she rewrote the script on facing adversity.
Wow, I love that. And it sounds like this idea of mentality control, it's a big theme.
It really is. It echoes throughout both Audrey and Trevor's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Trevor, her son, he also faced incredible challenges. Poverty, bullying, you name it. But he used his mother's example to develop his own techniques for mastering his mindset.
That's amazing. So he learned by watching her.
He really did.
Wow. And did he talk about how he did that?
Well, he talks a lot about choosing your thoughts and words, like how focusing on what you're for
Okay.
rather than against can totally change your perspective.
Oh, that makes sense. It's like creates a more positive reality,
Yeah, exactly.
powerful stuff.
It really is.
So how do we actually like rewire our brains for success?
Well, the source material talks about taking quiet time.
Quiet time.
Yeah, it's a daily practice of stillness and focused breathing to tap into the power of your subconscious.
Have you tried this?
I have. It's not always easy, you know?
No, I bet our minds are like wired to be constantly stimulated.
Right. Finding that stillness can be a challenge.
It can. But the science behind it is fascinating, though.
It is. So, taking quiet time, it allows our brains to rewire those neural pathways
Okay.
and break down limiting beliefs, and you become more receptive to new ideas and opportunities.
So it's like hitting reset for your brain.
Exactly.
I love that. So from all your research, what would you say are some of the most like tangible benefits?
Well, you know, studies have shown that regular practice of mindfulness and focused breathing can reduce stress and anxiety
Okay.
and improve focus and concentration,
Right.
and even boost creativity and problem-solving skills.
Wow, that's impressive. And I love how this practice, it's accessible to everyone.
It really is.
You don't need any fancy equipment or special training.
No, not at all. Just a few minutes of quiet time each day can make a huge difference.
Wow, that's encouraging. So we've got mentality control and taking quiet time.
Right. What's the third key principle?
Let's see. Connecting with nature.
Yes.
Both Audrey and Trevor's stories, they really highlight how important it is to spend time outdoors.
Yes.
You know, to recharge, gain perspective.
And tap into a deeper source of knowledge.
Exactly. It's like nature becomes a source of inspiration and wisdom.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can definitely relate to that feeling of clarity and peace that comes from just being surrounded by trees, fresh air.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Trevor talks about how those solitary walks in nature helped him stay grounded.
Yeah.
Helped him resist negativity and nurture his imagination. He describes it as connecting to a universal energy source.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he calls it the matrix.
So it's not just about getting exercise or fresh air.
Right.
It's about tapping into a deeper level of awareness and understanding.
I like that. Connecting to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how can our listeners apply these principles to their own lives?
That's the big question, right?
We've heard these inspiring stories, but what are some concrete steps they can take? Like starting today?
Yeah, let's break it down. Let's distill it into some actionable takeaway.
Okay, so first up, mentality control. We can all become more aware of our thoughts and words.
Right.
Choose to focus on what we want rather than what we fear.
Yeah, it's not about like denying negative thoughts or pretending everything's perfect.
Right.
It's more about acknowledging them, but not letting them control your reactions.
It's like choosing to see the glass half full,
Yeah,
even when you're tempted to focus on the empty space.
I love that analogy.
And the second key takeaway is to carve out some time for taking quiet time.
Okay.
Even a few minutes each day of stillness and focused breathing can have a profound impact.
It's a practice though, right?
It is. Some days will be easier than others.
For sure.
Don't beat yourself up if your mind wanders.
Yeah.
Just gently guide it back to your breath.
That's good advice. It's like training a muscle.
Exactly. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes.
Okay, I like it. And third,
We need to prioritize connecting with nature. Whether it's a walk in the park, a hike in the woods, or just sitting under a tree, those moments of connection can be so restorative.
absolutely. And it's interesting to just notice how nature makes you feel.
Yeah.
What shifts in your energy, in your perspective, do you experience when you're surrounded by nature?
It's all about paying attention to those subtle shifts.
Right.
And realizing that even small changes can make a big impact.
I like that. So to recap, we've got those 3 powerful principles
Yes.
inspired by the incredible lives of Audrey and Trevor Blake.
Mentality control,
Yes.
taking quiet time, and connecting with nature.
I like it.
And this is just the beginning.
Oh, there's so much more to unpack.
Stay tuned, because we're going to explore how these principles played out in Trevor's journey from a bullied schoolboy to a successful entrepreneur.
Can't wait. This is going to be good.
It is.
So we were talking about Trevor and his incredible resilience shaped by his early experiences and his mother's unwavering spirit.
Right? And his journey from bullied schoolboy to successful naval officer.
Exactly.
Yeah, but before we get to his professional success, I think it's important to understand just how deep those challenges were that he faced. I mean, poverty, bullying, like those are some serious obstacles.
Yeah, no kidding. And the source material really does paint this vivid picture of the hardship that he had to endure. Like, imagine being so poor that the pipes in your house freeze.
Wow.
And you have to come up with creative ways to, wash yourself at school.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to read about the lengths he had to go to just for basic hygiene.
Right.
And the bullying was relentless.
It was.
His classmates taunted him. They stole from him. They even urinated on his clothing.
Oh, gosh.
It's tough to imagine the emotional toll that must have taken.
It is. But what's remarkable is how he chose to respond. Instead of internalizing all that negativity and letting it define him, he found solace and inspiration in a rather unexpected place.
Well, the library.
The library. Yeah. He was drawn to these biographies of successful people, people who had overcome, incredible odds.
So he was looking for a roadmap, like a blueprint for how to escape that cycle of hardship.
Exactly. And he wasn't just passively reading these stories.
Yeah.
He was actively extracting the principles and strategies that these individuals used to achieve success.
Okay.
He was particularly fascinated by their mental fortitude, their ability to stay positive even when faced with adversity.
So he was already practicing mentality control.
He was, without even realizing it.
Even as a kid.
Right.
Wow.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and this early foundation in mentality control, it helped him navigate those tumultuous teenage years and ultimately led him to make this pivotal decision to apply to the Royal Navy College.
The Royal Navy College.
Yeah, and remember, this wasn't just a whim for him.
Right?
Trevor grew up immersed in military tradition.
Oh, interesting.
His family had a long history of service. It was almost expected of him to follow in their footsteps.
Wow. So he was surrounded by all these reminders of military life.
Oh, yeah, constantly. Like model planes and tanks, war movies, stories of wartime heroism from family and friends.
Oh, wow.
So it's no wonder that he felt drawn to that path.
Yeah, but at the same time, he was deeply connected to nature.
Right.
Spending hours exploring the countryside, reading under his favorite rowan tree, dreaming of something more.
It's fascinating how these two seemingly contrasting influences, the structured world of the military and this expansive realm of nature, they both played a role in shaping his character and his aspirations.
It's like they provided him with the discipline, but also the vision, to pursue his goals.
Right. And remember when he announced that he was going to apply to the Royal Navy College? Everyone thought he was crazy.
Really? Why?
They saw it as a long shot, like a token gesture from the military to appease working class families.
Oh.
They didn't believe that he had what it took to succeed.
Oh, interesting.
But Trevor had this quiet confidence.
Yeah.
This belief in himself that had been nurtured by those stories of self-made individuals that he read about in the library.
That's cool. And that belief, coupled with that disciplined approach to mentality control, helped him through the grueling selection process.
And we should be clear, that training was brutal.
Was it?
Sleep deprivation,
Yeah.
physical exhaustion, constant mental and logistical challenges.
Wow.
The source material even mentions psychological tactics designed to, like, tempt candidates to give up with promises of comfort and anonymity.
So they really wanted to weed people out.
They did. It sounds like something out of a spy movie.
I bet. It was designed to push them to their absolute limits, to test their resilience and their mental fortitude.
Yeah. And out of hundreds of applicants, only a handful made it to graduation.
And he was one of them.
He was.
Wow.
It wasn't just about physical strength.
No.
It was about mental toughness, about choosing to stay focused on that goal, even when every fiber of your being is screaming for you to quit.
Wow, that's powerful. It's a real testament to the power of mentality control.
It is. He didn't let those external challenges dictate his internal state. He chose to stay focused, to believe in his ability to succeed.
And it's clear that his time in the Navy, it really further honed his leadership skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which would later become crucial in his entrepreneurial journey.
Right. So he was given command of this division that was struggling.
Okay.
And he turned things around by focusing on their strengths and breaking down complex problems into, manageable tasks.
So he was already demonstrating those principles we've been talking about.
Right.
Mentality control, breaking down big goals, trusting in the abilities of others.
Yeah. It's fascinating to see how those early experiences were, laying the groundwork for his future success.
It really is. But, his path wasn't always smooth sailing.
Oh.
There were some, significant turning points that forced him to kind of reevaluate his priorities and ultimately led him to make the bold decision to leave the Navy and embark on a completely different journey.
That's interesting. So the transition into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
That's where things get really interesting.
That's where it gets good.
Should we dive into that next?
Let's do it. I'm eager to hear how those same principles played out in the, uncharted waters of the business world.
All right. So we're back and ready to explore this turning point in Trevor's life, leaving the Navy to venture into the world of entrepreneurship. I got to admit, I'm a little surprised. It seemed like he was on a pretty clear path for success in the military.
It did seem that way. But the source material reveals that a couple of significant events happened that really caused him to reevaluate his priorities and ultimately led to that bold decision.
Okay, spill the beans. What happened?
Well, the first one was really personal. He realized that in his pursuit of, professional success, he'd become so consumed with his own goals that he'd barely even registered his mother's declining health.
Wow. That must have been a real wake-up call.
It was. It made him realize that even with the best intentions, sometimes we can get caught up in, the whirlwind of our own pursuits.
Yeah.
And lose sight of what truly matters.
Right.
Those connections with the people we love.
It's a powerful reminder to check in with ourselves,
It is.
to make sure our ambitions aren't overshadowing the things that are truly important.
Exactly. And then, to add to that personal reckoning, there is also some professional disillusionment.
Oh.
While serving on a frigate in the Caribbean, Trevor was exposed to the realities of U.S. foreign policy.
Right.
He witnessed, firsthand the propaganda machine in action.
Wow.
And it left him feeling really cynical and questioning the values he thought he was upholding.
So it was this combination of personal and professional disillusionment that prompted him to make that leap.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, his decision to leave the Navy was met with a lot of resistance.
Oh, I bet. People probably thought he was throwing away a promising career. It reminds me of how they reacted when he applied to the Royal Navy College.
Right.
They underestimated him then, and they were probably doing it again.
Exactly. They tried to make him feel guilty, pull him back into their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But Trevor was determined to forge his own path. He'd tasted the power of controlling his own destiny, and he wasn't going back.
I admire that kind of conviction,
Yeah.
It can be hard to stand firm in your choices when everyone around you is doubting you.
It takes courage. And it's another example of mentality control in action. He recognized that he couldn't control other people's reactions, but he could control his own response.
So what did he do next? Leaving the security of a naval career, that's a risky move.
It is, especially with a young family to support.
Right.
Well, he did have a bit of a safety net. His medical training landed him a job at a hospital,
Okay.
but it wasn't a fulfilling experience. The source material describes it as stifling, filled with bureaucracy, lack of innovation, resistance to new ideas. It sounds like he was back in that quicksand mentality he had worked so hard to escape.
Oh, man, that's got to be frustrating. Like taking a giant step backward.
Yes, but remember, he had been diligently practicing those 3 principles, right?
Right.
controlling his mentality, taking quiet time, connecting with nature.
Yeah. So even though he wasn't in his ideal situation, he was still nurturing that inner growth.
Exactly. And it paid off. He landed a job with a pharmaceutical company,
Okay.
which allowed him to combine his medical knowledge with his newfound passion for sales.
Oh, wow.
And he thrived in that role, quickly rose through the ranks, winning awards, traveling the world.
It's a perfect illustration of how those principles, those seemingly small shifts in mindset and habits, can create a ripple effect
They do.
and lead to unexpected opportunities.
Absolutely. It's like setting those intentions in motion, puts you on a path you might not have even known existed.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But even with all this outward success, Trevor, he still felt drawn to something more. He yearned to create something of his own, a company that was aligned with his values.
Okay, so this is where his entrepreneurial journey really takes off.
Yes. He started envisioning this revolutionary business model. America's first fully outsourced, virtually run pharmaceutical company.
Whoa.
It was a radical concept at the time.
Yeah.
But he saw the inefficiencies in those traditional business structures, and he believed he could do things differently.
That's bold. And I bet it wasn't easy to convince others to get on board with such a radical idea.
It wasn't. He faced significant obstacles. Funding was scarce, investors were skeptical, and he even encountered some shady business practices that almost derailed his plans.
Oh, no. But he stayed true to his vision.
He did. He persevered, kept practicing those 3 principles, and trusted that things would fall into place.
And they did.
They did.
I love a happy ending. How did it all come together?
Through a series of serendipitous events, he secured funding, acquired the rights to this promising cancer drug, and even got the backing of some pharmaceutical industry veterans who believed in his vision.
It's like all the pieces of the puzzle just magically clicked into place.
Right.
Amazing. And you know what's truly inspiring is that it wasn't just about financial success for Trevor.
Right.
He was driven by this deeper purpose to create a company that made a difference in the lives of others.
And they did. You know?
He did.
They provided access to medications to patients, regardless of their financial circumstances.
Wow.
They even gave away medicine for free to those in need.
That's incredible. Aligning actions with values, that's what makes a success story truly resonant.
It really does. So Trevor's story is an incredible journey, of resilience, determination, and ultimately fulfillment. He took the principles he learned from his mother and created a life that exceeded even his wildest dreams.
That's amazing.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the power to shape our own reality, to create a life that's aligned with our values and our aspirations.
And it's about remembering that the journey is just as important as the destination. Embracing the challenges, learning from our mistakes, and celebrating those small victories along the way.
So to our listener, we hope this deep dive into the lives of Audrey and Trevor Blake has inspired you to take a closer look at your own life.
Yeah.
Your own assumptions, those self-imposed limitations. What if you could rewire your thinking, connect more deeply with nature, and set those intentions in motion to create a life that's truly extraordinary?
Remember, you have the power to make it happen.
And before we wrap up, we promise you a 10-point summary of what we've learned today, a distillation of these incredible lives and the principles they embody, ready to go.
Absolutely. Let's recap those key takeaways.
Okay, number 1, mentality is key. Your habitual mental attitude shapes your experiences. So focus on what you want, not what you fear.
Number 2, control your thoughts and words. They have the power to create or destroy, so choose positive, empowering language.
Number 3, take quiet time. Daily stillness and focused breathing can rewire your brain for success.
Number 4, connect to nature. Tap into the grounding and insightful energy of the natural world.
Number 5, recognize patterns. Identify those recurring negative behaviors and commit to changing them.
Number 6, embrace change. Growth requires stepping outside your comfort zone. Expect resistance, but stay true to your path.
Number 7, set clear intentions. Define specific, measurable goals for what you want to attract into your life.
Number 8, keep your intentions secret. Protect their energy from interference.
Number 9, live your intentions now. Don't wait for the future act. Think and feel as if you've already achieved those desires.
And finally, number 10, let life fill in the details. Trust the process. Unexpected opportunities and connections will emerge along the way.
There you have it, a blueprint for success inspired by real-life examples. Remember, you have the power to create the life you desire. Go out there and make it happen. And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep diving deep.